All right, we are in there. Mm. Sorry about the very slight delay. Almost forgot to fix my hair for this one. It's a big. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. Whoa, 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 whoa. I still have my stream up. I still have my stream open in my browser, and it was popping off. So there we go. Startled me. But hey, welcome to our big second anniversary stream. It's been 2 years, and it's been quite a ride. I mean, I won't lie and say that the channel's where I expected it to be. I wish I had more time to work on it and help it grow, but I'm trying to work on that. But yeah, so just 1 second. Mm. Want to accessorize a little bit. Get on my skull and crossbones, or at least the skull. Come on, get on there. There. Big fan of this one. My old guitar instructor's wife is a jeweler, and she made this for me. After I saw that he was wearing one exactly like it, and I was very jealous. I think it goes good with all my One Piece stuff. Like skull iconography, very embedded in the pirate brand, the pirate aesthetic. Okay, so what do we have planned for our second anniversary stream? Well, the first thing I wanted to do was the thing we did last year's anniversary stream, which was just do like a brief reintroduction, get people caught up, remind them who we are and what this channel's about. Sorry about the mess, by the way. I know things are in a slight state of bedlam, but I did the best I could to clean up before stream started. But yeah, introductions. Let's do it. There we go. And I got my nice new graphic going on with the very toothpaste color scheme. But yeah, that's us. Cross Age Productions, that's how it's pronounced. We do live streams, VODs, and videos. Currently on YouTube, and let me scoot over. Currently on YouTube and Twitch, but I am open to suggestions if you guys would like to see me on other platforms. Didn't really have any plans right now. I mean, once upon a time, I thought I was gonna stream on Kick, but then I had a very bad experience where it was Hasatan. He was like doing a big catching up to the One Piece anime stream on Kick, and then as soon as it started, he got copyright struck. So, not very encouraging. Makes me want to never touch Kick again. Pretty much one and done with that. But yeah. By the way, how do you like the graphic design that we're going with for 2026? I mean, I like it. It's very like early 90s inspired, very Saved by the Bell coded. But here's the type of content we do. We do anime and manga, especially One Piece. I mean, if you can't tell, pretty big One Piece fans around here. Excuse me. I just threw down on some pizza right before we started. Yeah, anime and manga, especially One Piece, video games. Trying to get more of that going on this channel. Originally, there was going to be way more of a presence of video games here on Cross Age Productions, and just kind of got fouled up by computer nonsense, but more on that later. We're big fans of RPGs and action games here, but I mean, I'm open to try just about anything. I mean, I just love video games, right? Movies, especially superhero and martial arts films, we're big fans here. So, as you can imagine, loving superhero movies and martial arts, of course, Power Rangers is like the best of both worlds to me. And we like cartoons, big fans of animation here. We like to paint. We've done plenty of painting on this channel. None too recently, but that might change in the future. And more. Basically, just, I don't know, whatever I feel like. So here's a little bit about your host, Harrison. That's me. Favorite color is blue, if you can't tell. Favorite music is rock and roll. That's pretty much all kinds of rock and roll. I mean, I'm a fan of classic rock, hard rock, pop rock, pop punk, ska, indie rock, indie pop, a little bit of metal, electronica, funk, soul, disco, Motown, just all sorts of rock. And tons of like movie, anime, video game, TV show, cartoon soundtracks, all that kind of stuff as well. A lot of nerdy stuff we listen to around here. I love spicy food. I mean, I've shown this off before, but let me whip it out. This is what I'm doing right now. Pepper Palace's Purgatory The End hot sauce. I think it's like 10 million Scoville, something like that. But yeah, I've been throwing down on that for the past, like, I don't know, few months, up to a year. Big fan of American, burgers and pizza. I don't know if pizza really counts, like American style pizza, burgers and pizza and fried chicken and all that. Love Italian, but I mean, very Americanized Italian. I love going to Olive Garden. Probably be doing that for my birthday later this week because I love their chicken and shrimp carbonara. And anyone who has known me since I was little knows that I can put away those breadsticks like a wood chipper. And of course, Asian food. There's a great place like a couple towns down that sells some freaking epic pad thai. And beef hao fun as well. Delicious. I love hibachi. I've been to the Volcano Hibachi in the Atlanta area. It freaking rules. And hobbies, of course, we've talked about this a bit. Games, film, animation, music, drawing, painting, the arts. Big fan of the arts here. And cooking. Cooking is, I would consider that to be an art. And also traveling. It is a little expensive. So I haven't had the opportunity to indulge much in this particular hobby as of late. But we do like traveling and seeing new places, making new memories, finding new experiences. But yeah. These are my big inspirations. If you want to know what the vibe is around here on Cross Age Productions, this is a good little primer. So as a teenager, I used to love watching Spoonie, and I still do binge his stuff every once in a while if I'm in a Spoonie mood. Say what you want about who Spoonie is as a person, but I'd still find that his content really rocked. Really witty, funny dialogue. Loved his reviews and Let's Plays and stuff, and movie reviews as well. Just really awesome, and it would be great if he would come back. Everybody keeps saying, this is it. This is the year of Spoonie. I really am wishing that he would come back to his Final Fantasy review series, because he said he was going to do 13 too, and I don't really care. What I really want is for him to get through Final Fantasy 13 2 and 3, so that one day he might move on to Final Fantasy 15. Wishful thinking, he hasn't really done any edited content in. Oh boy, it's been 10 years now, huh? Time flies when you're being disappointed. But yeah, and Red Letter Media as well. I've actually recently started binging their content again, starting with the Plinkett style Star Trek reviews. He reviewed all those movies. Well, not all of them, like the Next Generation movies, because Mike DeClaus is like a big Next Generation fan. And I'm not necessarily a big Star Trek fan myself, but those reviews are just really funny. And I was just ravenous for more of his reviews after watching, of course, the very famous Star Wars Episode 1 review that he put out. I like how in an age of just ranting and like really ranting, angry reviews, Red Letter Media came along and made it popular to actually be eloquent and detailed in your analysis. I'm a big fan of critique as a genre. I think it is. I think it's fair to say that it is its own art form. Super Best Friends Play, I've been binging their stuff as well. Right now I'm in the middle of their Bloodborne Let's Play that they did. Sad that they all went their own ways, although I can kind of see why they did it, But yeah, during the Let's Play boom of the mid to late teens, those guys were king. And then Rebel Taxi, of course. My personal vote for the best YouTuber on the entire platform. There's no contest. He has the best presentation, the best editing. He is well-spoken, emphatic, enthusiastic. I love his choice of subject matter. He's big into animation and video games. He's just really, really cool, and I was very happy to go to his panel a few years ago. What was it called? Dragon Con 2022. That was a blast. Also, some of my favorite superheroes right here: Power Rangers, Guyver, Spider-Man. So again, just big into superheroes, big into martial arts. Power Rangers, very influential, pretty much my primer and all that kind of stuff, as well as Japanese culture. Spider-Man, just really awesome. My first introduction to Spider-Man was probably the 90s cartoon. But what I'm biggest into is just those first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Those are two of my favorite superhero movies ever made. Two of my favorite movies, period, ever made. I could sit down and watch those pretty much anytime. And then Guyver is kind of the blend of these two things. It's a Japanese animated superhero that is kind of in the style of Spider-Man, teenage boy, freak accidents, crazy sci-fi powers. Now he suffers. This is his gift. It is also his curse, etc., etc. The difference is that Guyver is, in my opinion, infinitely more brutal than Spider-Man. Lots more. It is more hardcore sci-fi. Lots of eugenics and body horror and stuff. Unfortunately, it's been on hiatus for a very long time. There is a fan project called Guyver Midnight that we checked out last year, and it's supposed to be getting a follow up. So I'll look forward to that. Because what we did get from Guyver Midnight, it was very bite sized. So it'd be nice to get something a little meatier, a main course after the appetizer. But yeah, Guyver's pretty cool. You've seen it chilling out on my shelf back here. You can't see it right now because of the presentation is in the way. But yeah, I've been following that series since I was, I think, 8, which may be a little too early to be watching stuff like that, but whatever. I think it turned out okay, mostly. And then like animation that we really love around here, One Piece. We've talked about this. Fully Cooley, massively influential, probably like the most influential work of fiction I've ever experienced in my life. I discovered it when I was 15 years old at a very formative period when I was just like, you know, transitioning into high school and really trying to figure out who I was. And Fully Cooley helped me discover that in a big way. So, big fans of that series. Say what you will about the sequels, they're kind of hit and miss, but the classic, always strong. And then The Last Airbender, which, I mean, despite what I was just saying about Fully Cooley being my favorite, objectively, I think I have to acknowledge Last Airbender as the best animated series ever. At least the best that I've seen. If there's a better one out there, I want to know. But Last Airbender is just an amazing all-rounder. There are no weak points, no bad characters, no bad pacing, no bad action. Even the episodes that people say are bad aren't really bad. They're just like bad for Last Airbender. They're still more than watchable. So, highly recommended. The cartoon, that is. The cartoon that is the original series, The Last Airbender, seasons 1, 2, and 3. Legend of Korra is whatever. Don't worry about it. Obviously, the movie it was directed by M. Night Shyamalan. I don't even really need to say anymore beyond that. And then Flickspender, I like to call it. Quite divisive, I think, because it did kind of get the stamp of approval from the original creators. But the original creators are kind of, I don't know, I don't always trust their sense of artistry. They're, I don't know. I mean, they were the ones behind Legend of Korra, so these guys, they don't necessarily always know best. If you look back at The Last Airbender, it was more of a team effort between a lot of different creative people, not just the two people that were kind of the seed for the whole idea. Not to say that they were not capable of great works, you know, they wrote and directed some real slappers, but when they had more creative control going forward because they took a lot of the credit for the series, that's when it started to go downhill because they thought that they could do it all. They were just their own little two-man show for the most part, and everybody had to answer to them. And it was for the worse, really. So I think the next series that they were going to make got canceled. And so given our past experiences, I'm gonna go ahead and say that that was probably for the best. You know, just like leave well enough alone. Last Airbender was lightning in a bottle. It was totally awesome, and furthermore, like really conclusive, singular story. We can just go ahead and leave it at that. That's fine by me. And then last little bit, I think that's the last bit. Nope, that's the presentation, like the original presentation from my first stream ever. Just talking about goals. So short term, you know, within the very immediate future, like the next month or so. Obviously, we're going to be checking out FlixPiece. That's going to be a big part of next week's stream. I already know that the One Piece manga is on break next week, but FlixPiece Season 2 is finally dropping, and that was really how we got our start, was just watching FlixPiece. That was some of the first stuff we ever did on this channel. And so it's cool that it's coming out like now of all times. When we're really like getting back to our roots here. And this is going to be much more timely because I originally meant to start streaming when FlixPiece had initially dropped, and then it took way longer to get started than I expected, and so it was not very timely at all. This time we are like jumping on it hardcore, and hopefully that will be a boon to the channel. Although I don't know, everybody's going to be watching it. I'm sure you would much rather watch, I don't know, like Alicia X Life or somebody watch FlixPiece instead. You probably noticed, though, that Psychonauts 2 is listed under the short-term goals. And if you've been following this channel for a while, that might sound strange because Psychonauts 2 is a playthrough that has been in the works pretty much since the beginning and has just been delayed and delayed and delayed because of serious computer issues. But if you go back a bit, like right here, PC upgrade. That's right. I finally got all the pieces of the Infinity Gauntlets. I finally got my AMD Ryzen 9000 series processor, which together with my new DDR5 RAM and my fancy big Chungus motherboard, they're going to be forming Voltron very soon. And I pray, I pray to God that this is the solution to my problems with getting Psychonauts 2 to boot. Because if this doesn't do it, I don't know what to do. Like, this has been an odyssey unlike any other in the realm of troubleshooting, where I bought it, it wouldn't boot. I had to go to the Steam. Steam doesn't want to help. They just push it all on the developer, whatever. This isn't our game. Just talk to Double Fine, let them figure it out. Went to the Double Fine Discord, and we troubleshooted it over the course of days to no avail. We figured out there was something wrong with my DirectX installation. DirectX is very temperamental. It does not want to be fixed. So I tried just like starting over from scratch with a new installation of Windows 11 and a new hard drive. It was not installing properly. I had to take it to, my local computer shop. They were like, this isn't even the right version. We decided to just upgrade the operating system that you already had, which was really not what I wanted, because like I wanted a clean slate to be absolutely 100% sure that the problem got fixed. That didn't happen. That was frustrating, especially since I still got charged for the service that I didn't ask for. They charged me for the service they felt like giving me, and not the service that I very explicitly asked for. That was annoying, and of course, it did not help. The one thing that he said that tipped me off that there might be a solution is he said, your motherboard's a little old and it's a little cheap, and that's kind of holding your rig back. So that's the idea. So I went and got a new motherboard, and of course, new motherboard means means I gotta get new RAM. I gotta get a new processor. I need to go out later today and get some thermal paste. Hopefully Walmart has it. I don't know. Walmart and Best Buy at this point are pretty indistinguishable from one another in terms of their electronics department. So hopefully I can just go to the Walmart in town and not have to go like a town over to go to their Best Buy. Really don't feel like doing that, but whatever. And more Bloons Tower Defense 6 content. I know the last time we streamed, it ended on pretty sour notes where I tried the new map and just got absolutely washed. And I promise I don't normally get super salt over video games. It's only Bloons Tower Defense that brings that out of me because of the concept that when you lose, that's just it. You gotta start all the way over, do all the setup again, just so you can try something else and hope that works instead. And this is a map where I just felt like I didn't have a lot of options. I was doing pretty much everything I could, and I do it with I complete those levels with a black border mindset where I'm like, I gotta be ready to do this the chimp's way. I cannot rely on continues or powers or monkey knowledge or any of that kind of thing. I gotta be ready to handle this map at its worst. So I'm apprehensive about utilizing all those kinds of things, all those little things that are meant to help you. So just a little annoying, and I am experiencing a little bit of BTT6 burnout. I started playing it a lot when I was struggling for things to do on stream. Just a bit of a dry spell in terms of creativity. Hopefully that changes soon. Now for midterm goals, which if things go to plan, this will be over the course of the next year before we have our next anniversary and we go through all this again with our new goals. One Piece reviews. I really would like to dig down and make lots more One Piece content discussing my thoughts on the different arcs and the different versions of each arc, comparing the manga to the anime to the live action to the one like weird offshoot version of Fishman Island that they made to the multiple like episode of installments where they take arcs and turn them into movies. Doing like little character breakdown, opinion pieces, that kind of thing. I'd love to do lots more One Piece content. Uzumaki, worst anime ever, which is already recorded. I just need to edit it. It was supposed to be out for Halloween, so maybe next Halloween. Same goes for Let's Watch Spawn. The Uzumaki and Spawn, those were two things where I watched them with my best friend Jaren. Flix Note as well, the Netflix version of Death Note. I watched that with Jaren because I found out that he had never seen it before, and we're both Death Note fans, and so that was an opportunity that I absolutely had to jump on. So those are all things that I'd love to work on. As well as just other edited videos and shorts. The plan from the beginning was to take the streams, edit them down into videos, take the videos, edit them down into shorts, and like I just don't have all the time in the world to edit this stuff. This really is like a one-man show. Working on real poverty hours here. I've still got like a day job. I've got my life that I have to live. And finding balance has just been really difficult, especially recently. Things have been changing up a lot. I try not to get too into specifics because I don't think that's appropriate or professional, but whatever. Maybe one day. And then the long-term goals, where there is no definite timeline for these things. But something I want to work on is the How Fast Can We Catch Up series. Where I want to get with Jaren who has never read One Piece. Jaren, by the way, yeah, I've been talking about him. Jaren is like my best friend ever. He's like the brother I never had. Um, I would love to get him on the channel and to do lots more content with him. Which was actually the original blueprint. This channel was supposed to be called J Cross H, and it was going to be me and Jaren tag teaming all sorts of different games and whatever. And that was back at the previously discussed Let's Play boom of the teens. We were going to be another duo, kind of like Game Grumps, like two best friends play, whatever. And then it just didn't click. He moved away, but now there's technology that lets us actually collaborate remotely. So I'd like to figure that out at some point. So like I was saying, he hasn't seen One Piece at all. He's privy to a few things just through osmosis. But for the most part, he would be going in blind, and so I thought it would be a good idea to see how fast I can get him caught up on One Piece. Not speed reading per se. I don't want him to miss anything or gloss over anything. Just read at a pretty normal pace, but try to binge read it. At a somewhat brisk pace, not so brisk that again you might miss out on things, but I'm just curious to see how fast we can catch up. That's the name of the whole thing. And then after One Piece, maybe tackle some other stuff, other popular series that have concluded. I think Demon Slayer concluded at some point. I never saw that. I think maybe My Hero Academia concluded recently. That might be something that we check out. I'm not sure. And then Martial Farts. This was my idea based on my mutual love of martial arts films that I share with Jaren, to do a sort of Mystery Science Theater 3000 style, just riff tracks, but for martial arts movies instead of science fiction. And animation appreciation would be kind of the same thing. Just for animation, I love animation. Jaren is a professional animator. And so we would get together and discuss mostly good animation, but really just anything that piques our curiosity, anything that we have a lot to say about. I would love to review every superhero movie ever. That is a series that I've been brainstorming for a long time. That would be super cool. Jaren and I, we also love superhero movies. This is why I'd say that he's like the brother I never had, because we just vibe on so many different things and we connect on so many different subjects. We both love martial arts and animation and superheroes and video games and just all sorts of stuff. And World Cross H, now that's a huge goal. That's I'm not even sure if it will ever happen. But World Cross H is my idea to stream a cross-country trip where I go all 50 states and then cap it off with a trip to Japan. And I would rock across the continent with Jaren and maybe a couple other friends. I don't know. Just talking and checking out random towns, seeing the sights, eating the foods, that kind of thing, and then share that cross-country experience with people online. I'd also love to join the Reverie. The Reverie is I think it's a yearly discussion between the biggest One Piece YouTubers. I'd love to join in on that sphere, and I'd love to become a VTuber, which I'm starting to take steps, very timid steps, but I've got my digital pad right here. Unfortunately, the pen pressure does not work with Photoshop, so I think I'm just going to have to go and download a Photoshop alternative uh, because I just can't imagine being able to realize my vision when there's no pen pressure sensitivity at all. I can't control my line weight at all. Thanks, Photoshop. Thanks for being a picky eater. I mean, like, no. Like, I researched it, and they're like, no, you can only use this hyper-specific digital drawing pen. Otherwise, it doesn't work because the Wurgle, Flurgle, wobbly bits. Okay, thanks. Classic Adobe. Thank you. But yeah, I'm working on it. I'm kind of tempted to show you like a little sneak peek. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and do it. Screw it. This is what I've been sketching. Now, don't judge too harshly. It's still a work in progress, but I mean, this is what I got. This is coming from someone who really struggles to draw the human figure, by the way. So again, just please. This is my original character. Do not steal. I have the proof here on the stream. This is my own work. I made it. And this is only the tip of the iceberg. I've already got like other designs that I'm working on, and this is a work in progress. Like, I'm gonna need to tweak this. I want the you can see he's got like a little electricity hazard logo on his shirt that I want to be white instead of black. And it needs more like yellow incorporation, so I want to take these details on his jacket and make them yellow instead of just black. But yeah, that's my work in progress. Do not steal. In fact, I should really start researching how to pursue a copyright on my work. Like a proper copyright, so I can really copyright strike folks. Just in case. I don't think there are too many people who are going to be out there trying to parasitize my work. But just a thought. Yeah, but that's it for reintroductions. So I think the next thing I want to do is rip into this new One Piece chapter, which I have been spoiled on slightly. I'm sorry to say, because people on Facebook cannot help themselves. Very annoyed about that. But whatever. Let's just do it. Let's dig on this awesome vertical color spread. Hello. That is absolutely gorgeous. That's freaking awesome. I love the bright colors. Robin looking very cute. It's great. Not necessarily original. We've seen color spreads like this before. All the Straw Hats all stanced up with like lots of treasure around them. And the Thousand Sunny and all that. I like how the Thousand Sunny does have a giant like bicorn. But yeah, still great. So let's see what we've got here. Loki's Thorheim echoes across the land. What the hell kind of party is this? And there's Frankie. People have been wondering where Frankie has been. And we've got Lilith. So Vegapunk actually does have a role to play in all this. Wait, isn't that the big case that's supposed to have the original Vegapunk inside it? What are you doing, Lilith? Wasn't Vegapunk supposed to be set? Well, I mean, hey, shut me up, why don't you? Good thing I left it near the school. This here is the Omni Drain Converter, the ODC. Oh, and you should be able to use the hover since we're in Elbaf. Can't you feel it? The energy here flows everywhere. Have you ever tried using something other than cola to move around? What? This fire is spreading. This has to be a nightmare. Is this the day the world ends? Did you see that? That dragon's way bigger than... That's what I was saying. Like, that dragon is, like, all the way big. But Luffy was riding on its back, so that means it's our ally? That idiot is always doing whatever comes to mind. Zeus, are you ready? Yeah. This won't be easy, but let's move before something happens to the kids. Saul. Sorry, but I can't stay here. Are you alright? Let's go, Zeus. It's an emergency. Oh, she's going to use Zeus to put out the fire. That's awesome, actually. We've got to put the fires out at the school and the library. I like that illustration. This is like the big death ball that Enel was making, except it's got a little tiny itty bitty smiley face on it. Leave it to me, Nami. I'm already full. That's our Nami-san, always on point. Powering rain, tempo. Please, Nami, Zeus, is that rain? Oh, put it out. Hey, hold on a second. That's not what was promised. Who said anything about putting out the fire? Kya, a monster. Watch out, Zeus. Huh? You promised you'd throw away the history of the world. Yeah, Zeus? Is that a snake? No, it's the lindworm. Zeus, our last resort for putting out the fire was... Wait, who's that over there? Is he one of the 3 demons? Mobilizing the ODCR, huh? Collecting thermal energy. What the... So they're little discs that fill up with, like, heat? And then, what the hell is that thing? The fire went out. No, it was frozen? The fire was frozen. Okay, that's interesting. I don't know how I feel about Nami getting some spotlight and then she just gets, totally outdone by a tertiary character. This is really... With Lilith here, I'm getting like a big like Law and Chopper problem where a new character comes along and just automatically seems like a better version of a character we already had and just steals all the spotlight and basically ruins them. What's going on? Incredible. The fires at the school and the library have been extinguished. Natural disasters are nothing more than clusters of energy. Frankie, try using one of these. Oh, the bottle's about to burst. I call this beauty Super Vega Cola. Oh my golly. Please tell me that Frankie is actually getting a power up. That is crazy. Frankie is... If you've been reading, Frankie is not one for power-ups. Honestly. Like, except for the time skip, he just kind of rocks around with what he's got. He doesn't have a lot in the way of, like, big ass pulls or whatever. He doesn't have gears or epic hockey or anything like that. He's not a mutant. He doesn't get cool devil fruit powers or awakenings or anything like that. Frankie's just Frankie, so the idea of him getting a power up, hopefully it's not temporary. Hopefully he figures out a permanent source for Super Vega Cola. But we'll see. Your internal mechanism was brilliantly engineered. It's on par with the Pacifistas. But when I heard you were running on plain old cola, I was shocked. Listen, Frankie, fuel is passion. And if you drink that, your power will explode. Okay. Alright. Is anyone noticing, a bit of a delayed effect? I feel like this reaction that we're getting right here was kind of what we were expecting back in Egghead Island. And we're only getting it now, but okay. It's pitch dark in here. Nami, help. Zeus, I'm coming. Saul, do you think we can reach the library? Of course. You're worried too, aren't you, Robin? After all, that's where all the history left behind by O'Hara is. Ooh. Killingham, I think, overheard. If he didn't know already, I'm not sure. I thought they already knew. Dream demons, swallow the library. Don't let them have hope. After all, a new world can only be born once history is cut away. This is... if I can talk for a bit, this feels a little weird because I feel like Fishman Island taught this exact lesson before. The idea that to some extent history must be abandoned in order for society to be forged anew, because with an entrenched history comes entrenched like grudges across social castes and races and all that kind of thing. So it's just weird how there's a bit of an inconsistency where you go from history is the treasure of mankind. It should always be preserved. It is our most precious resource. It is how we learn and get better. And then Fishman is like, no, history's bad. It's bad. You should unlearn history because it will color how you interact with other people. It engenders generational grudges. But now we are getting we are getting both of these lessons at once, except now one of them is arbitrarily good and the other one is arbitrarily bad when it wasn't before. Just like I could use more thematic consistency from Oda. I can't figure out one way or the other if he thinks that clinging on to history is good or bad. Nami, leave him to me. I'll make that monster cough Zeus back up with my Seiken. Look at that, a fishman. The ugliest. Wow. Okay. Makes me want to puke. Good thing I'm wearing a mask. This whole chosen people thing. So typical of Tenryubito. Is your head so big you can't tell this is Jinbei, a former Shichibukai? You committed the crime of insulting a member of my crew. I think it's time I put a hole in that aquarium of yours. Huh. I see, speaking of Fishman Island, I feel like this whole little, spiel that we are getting from Sanji is majorly running back his treatment of Jinbei in Fishman Island, where he just straight up told him to KYS. Super. What a jump was that? Sick. Interesting translation there. My muscles are screaming, but this one hit'll make any monster run with its tail between its legs. Super strong. Gojin Karate Ogi. Ifrita Jumbe. Oh man, big team attack. Big team attack. That's a little, I don't know. We've already seen these dream monsters get punked. So the idea that these three need to team up just to beat one is a little weird. I guess the idea is that this is like an extra big one. But whatever. Dexter. Braikon. Konkase. Wait, it's called Super Strong Dexter? What the hell kind of attack name is that? Oh my gosh, and Sanji's Konkase. Doing him dirty the same way he did Luffy, but even harder. Wow. Unfortunately, Sanji doesn't have Conqueror's Haki, so this is probably going to have literally like no effect on killing him whatsoever. And we've got a note, Brycon, whatever, blah blah blah. West Village, the giant warrior pirates turn into demons. Versus the warriors of the West Village, Stanson, Hajrin, Ja Rule, and Zoro. They keep regenerating even after being cut down so many times. I know every single one of them. It's hard having to hurt them like this. Isn't there some other way to stop them? Mwah! Kya! Captains? Are you there, Dory? Barely, Broggy. What the... It would be a disgrace to go on living after hurling baseless insults at the great Lord Ja Rule. And even worse, trying to take his head. Our honor would be stained for generations. Yeah, that can't happen. I agree with you. So they're wrestling back control. Like, okay, wow. That's quite a feat to give these mid-carders, because before this, the only person we've seen resist Dami Reversi is, okay, well, not one, but two. One was Rox, who was supposed to be like pretty much the be all end all ultra super pirate, but he didn't really come off that way. And then Harold, who was also supposed to be like Himothy, like the ultimate giant. So the idea that Dory and Broggy are now able to do it is just a little weird. Certainly. I'll never yield to a demon. Farewell, comrade. These past 100 years of battle have been quite the thrill. We are warriors of Elbaf. Then all that's left for us to do, all that's left for us is to die with great pride. Chiefs, Dory, Broggy. Okay. I don't necessarily entirely understand what's going on here. I mean, can't they just regenerate from that? Captain Dory, Captain Broggy, why did you do that? And then they turn back to normal. What? They're back to normal, and their heads are still intact. Which means you have to die once to undo the demonic transformation. What? Weren't they doing that before? Isn't the whole idea of the regeneration that they cannot be killed? I don't get it. So there's this. Hold on. Let's review this. So there's this demonic transformation that gives them the power to regenerate from any wound, so they can't be killed. And the only way to change them back is to kill them, which you can't do because they regenerate. What? What is this? What's going on? This doesn't make any sense. This feels like we just did the same thing that we've been trying to do, except this time it randomly works. Like, we have been carving into these dudes with lethal blows, and it hasn't worked because they've regenerated. But now, instead of regenerating, they change back for some reason. Where is the consistency? This is really contrived. It feels like it. Let's read a little bit more. Our bodies may turn into these horrible walking corpses, but once we flip ourselves over again, our bodies return to perfect health because, of course, very convenient. Oh yeah, then all we have to do is go for it, right? Yeah, no need to hold back. So if we deal a fatal blow, they'll go back to normal? I mean, I guess Dami Reversi is not the same thing as having, like, a contract. It's like a contract, but I guess this is a little different. So the solution was always to just beat them up really hard. Okay. That seems really boring. That seems like a really boring solution. I'm glad that this is getting resolved, but is being resolved in a way that feels really lazy and slipshod. This is the part that I was spoiled on, by the way. I knew that they changed back, and I knew that people were complaining, saying that it was lazy writing. I'm really falling on that side now, where this feels contrived and slipshod, and just like just based in artificial tension. Like we weren't trying to beat them before. Are you saying that up until now we were treating them with like kitty gloves? That we were holding back, and all we had to do to fix the problem was not hold back? So from the beginning, this whole problem of these guys being turned into demons was basically completely fake. We could have just chopped their heads off and they would go back to normal and perfectly healthy. Whether it's cutting off their heads or ripping out their hearts. No, wait, they're our comrades. We can't do that. Hey, get the kids inside. Shall I? I feel bad for them. My heart sinks and my chest aches. I hate having to do this, but brace yourselves. Break next week. Okay. Alright. So Domino Reversi is now like not scary at all. It went from the most terrifying superpower in the world, being able to turn anyone into your own demonic thralls, to completely unthreatening because all you really had to do was beat them up. This, alright, bear with me for a bit, because now this makes me want to go back to the big flashback with Rox, because I want to review how that was resolved. I want to look at this for a moment. So let's open this back up. This is the end of chapter 1164 with the big fight. Between Rox and Roger and Garp. Right? So yeah, big fight. More fighting. Let's see. Okay, let's just go ahead and reread the end of this fight. It all comes down to mass, doesn't it? First of all, the color of armament is power that doesn't yield to the devil fruits. And on top of that, I was raised in Haoshoku no Haki. There's no way it couldn't have hurt him. But he was guarding with Haoshoku no Haki too, so they cancel out. There's no damage unless we surpass that. If it's all down to who wears out first, we'll lose. There's no way to keep up with a monster like that thing. So you want to hit him with a critical mass of Haoshoku no Hoki. Excuse me, let me just get comfortable here. Exactly. Don't even think about whatever stamina you need after that. In that case, you're saying we don't come back from this alive. If we can pull this off, all three of us will be down for the count. But if we miss, we're done for. Okay. God of Fire Infinitum Ace Explosion. So they beat him up really, really hard. And this is the first, really big... And he's back to normal. He actually is back to normal. He's back to his normal size. He doesn't have his wings. He doesn't have his teeth. His crazy, crazy teeth. So he actually did go back to normal. And this is Dami Reversi. Unlike the deep sea contract that was on Herald, where there was basically no changing back for him. That's what I get from this, basically. So it's not that there wasn't a president. It's just that, I don't know. There's a certain inherent contradiction between giving people a buff that lets them regenerate, but also mind controls them. But if they're dealt a fatal blow, they change back, but you can't deal a fatal blow to them because they regenerate. So whatever, they regenerate, but they don't. It's strange, very strange. I guess the idea is you just have to push their regeneration to its limit before it gives out. It will heal them and change them back to normal, but then it runs out. So but no, hold on a second, because once we flip let me just open this up again. Now we're back to this chapter. Once we flip ourselves over again, our bodies return to perfect health. Are you sure about that? Because if I should not have closed that, by the way. If I can just go ahead and open this up again, flip back to chapter whatever, chapter 1166. Here's Rox. He's been changed back to normal, but he's not back to perfect health. He's all beat up. Plot hole much? This seems like weak writing. Unless the idea is that he got beat up so bad, so epically bad, that he regenerated until his Dami Reversi wore out, and he was still all beaten up. Because he just got beaten up that bad. To where the Dami Reversi just couldn't even put him back to normal. But then, just that's not... That is an assumption that is contrary to what we were told in the story. Both by the characters and by simple observation. So, no, that doesn't seem right. I don't know about that. You know what I thought might have been a little more logical? Is to literally have the power work in reverse. Remember how when people would get surrounded by, the black pieces, because this is the whole mechanics of this power is a reference to Go, the board game Go. They got flipped over to where they became black pieces. would it not have made more sense to find a way to isolate someone who had been flipped over and then surround them with white pieces so that they then flip over and become white again? I feel like maybe that would have been smarter and played more into what we already knew about the power in a way that actually felt clever, instead of just beat them up really hard. I don't know, man. A lot of this feels very convenient. Like these guys, these three guys, Gunko and Killingham and Summers, they show up and they're super duper scary. And then the solution is just finding out that they're not. They're actually not that scary. Once we actually start fighting back, they pretty much fold like a set of lawn chairs. I'm not a big fan of that resolution. But yeah, there's a break next week. But contrary to how things normally go here on this channel, we actually will be streaming next week, regardless, because we've got the Flix piece that's coming out, and it should be releasing pretty steadily. It comes out on the 10th. So we'll crack into that on the 15th. And then the 22nd and the 20th. It's probably going to be like 3 Sundays in a row. Because I'm trying to remember how we did it the first time, right? If it's anything like last time, it's going to be 8 episodes. And we'll watch 2 episodes one stream. And then 3 the next stream. And then wrap it up with the last 3 after that. That is going to be the plan for now. Might change depending on what happens in the future. But, I mean, speaking of, by the way, we've got some, like, we're not done with One Piece on this stream. We've got other stuff to check out. So if we could, just going to switch over to my headphones. We've got a new One Piece chapter. Or not One Piece chapter. One Piece trailer. The final trailer from Netflix. For Flix piece. And I'm just going to go ahead and turn on these audio filters again. Just in case they play more copyrighted music like last time when they played freaking Come Sail Away by Styx. There are 100 of us. And only one of you. Great portrayal. This is really loud, by the way. I don't know if you guys have noticed. This is really loud. So let's go ahead and tone this down like a lot. But yeah, the big 100 bounty hunters fight, like the highlight of Whiskey Peak, and great portrayal of Mr. Nine, by the way. If I can just roll back to that for a moment, like that's pretty perfect in terms of the way he looks and the line delivery. Yeah, I dig on that. Yep, there's the Styx. Wise decision to turn on my my audio filters. Boy, Egaram looks great. Love seeing those goggles on Usopp. I wonder how he's going to get them, because if I recall correctly, there was like a whole anime only subplot involving Usopp getting the goggles, whereas in the manga, he just kind of buys them and that's it. There's no real story to them. I wonder how much they will borrow from the anime version of events. This is interesting. An interesting shot, by the way, based on like the famous spread showing Chopper and Hero Luke's sleigh you know, uh, placed like over the moon in the background. But it's too dark for my taste. It's too dark and colorless. So I don't really care for that shot. It needs to be way brighter and more colorful. Slow up. Slow up. Slow up in a big way because I'm seeing some interesting stuff. Nope. Now go back further. Huh. Very interesting. You know, I'd been kind of spoiled on this. I read that Brooke had been cast for One Piece season 2. That's what I heard, and I scratched my head though. Like Brooke, season 2, season 2 isn't even supposed to make it and to Alabasta. So how? And then I realized, oh, they're going to go ahead and go back and flesh out that Laboon flashback. Now that we know more about the Rumbar pirates from Thriller Bark, they're going and incorporating the stuff that we learn later into previous seasons. They're using their knowledge of the future to better incorporate those elements into the past. So we are going to get to see Flesh and Blood Brooke briefly at some point in season 2 as part of the Laboon arc. Now, hold on a sec. Hold on. I want to see if there are any characters that I recognize in that shot. Is that supposed to be Yorkie? He's kind of got a little mark on his face. And these two guys, Marimo and whatever this guy's name was, they look pretty spot on. Oh my gosh, Smoker. No, we gotta drink this in. This is pretty freaking perfect right here. Just absolutely immaculate. Like it really is Smoker come to life. Right down to the part where he smokes 2 stogies at once. Miss Valentine's Day looks great. Everybody. Everybody. Except for maybe Chopper. Chopper's the only one who doesn't quite measure up to me. Not as bad. Oh my gosh, Wapple. Like Wapple. Wapple looks great. I'm down for Wapple's design on this. Chopper, I'll go ahead and say it. He's not as bad as I think a lot of people expected him to be, but still not quite. Not quite all the way there. Yep, looking pretty sick. But you know me, I'm still waiting with bated breath to get to Sabaody to see how they write around the fact that Hachan was not in season 1, which to me is like the single biggest foul ball in terms of writing. Oh my gosh, what the heck is this? I just gotta see what this is real quick. Nope. Okay, no, never mind. But we've got one more thing that we've got to talk about in terms of One Piece, and it is this: the 6 One Piece, the 600 million milestone. What is the One Piece? So there's been a lot of buzz about this. Lot of buzz. So first off, One Piece is apparently sold 600 million copies. It is apparently now sold better than Superman. So kudos, Uh, feels a little weird to celebrate now after we just had a pretty subpar chapter, but whatever. But apparently, to celebrate, Oda has indulged himself in a bit of a publicity stunt. So let's see what this is first, and then we'll talk about it. And I hope this is in English. Oh wow, this is the office. This is Oda's office. Eiichiro Oda Studio. February 8th, 1:25 p.m. 1:25 p.m. It looks like 1:25 a.m. Like what the and what is this shot exactly that I'm looking at? Have we seen that before? I don't remember. No, it's got all the Vegapunk, so this is from Egghead. No, slow up a bit. Slow up. There are differing accounts on this. Some people are saying that that it was planned from the beginning. Hold on a second. Hold on. I just want to do something real quick. Just want to make sure my chat is working correctly. I want to do that real quick. Just make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, we're good. We're good. Yeah, what I was gonna say is that there are differing accounts on this, where some say it's all been planned from the beginning, but then somebody they found like one stray comment from Oda and like an SBS or something or some sort of press release where he said the story's wrapping up. It's about time for me to figure out what the One Piece is, or like the story's progressing quickly. I have to figure out what the One Piece is, implying that he has not actually known what the One Piece would be from the beginning. Which, fair enough. It's a long story, and as it takes shape, um, it's not completely outrageous to think that maybe the details as to what the One Piece is may have changed over time. Just in response to Oda's slowly changing vision. I think it's naive to believe that One Piece as it is now is how One Piece was envisioned way back in 1997. We're coming up on 30 years of One Piece. But it's a little scary to think that he had no concept for what the One Piece would be at the beginning. Because we all mostly know Oda is like the king of foreshadowing, right? Like he plans things way ahead of time. And it doesn't always work out, but he's got a rep for his foreshadowing. So the idea that he started the story without actually knowing the goal, that doesn't sound good. Not sure how true that is. Not sure if that was like a mistranslation or whatever. There are differing accounts, but whatever. Just wanted to comment on that. Never? Well, as I understand it, his editors know what the One Piece is, but they're sworn to absolute secrecy and they will never reveal to anyone. He tears the paper in half. He places the bottom half in a treasure chest. He locks the chest. I'm sorry. Is the lock shaped like Luffy? Yes, it is. Look at that. That's cute. Justice Field and a pressure resistant glass sphere. Oh boy. Arrival at specified drop point. Are you sure about that? Oh, I forgot to turn the desktop audio back on. Let's just like get that soundbite again. One more time without the audio filters on. Let's turn those off.
Till the whole story is revealed. The truth will rest far beyond anyone's reach.
Are you sure about that? I feel like you underestimate how badly people want to know what the One Piece is. Like they will go to dire lengths. Now that you put this out, people are going to find it.
At the bottom of the ocean.
Hmm. Onwards to flag that's a cold line. Onwards to flagless waters. I bet you that's not even Oda. That's probably just an actor. But whoops. No. Roll it back. I don't know who this clown is, but so yeah, that's the long and short of it. Is apparently Oda has written down what the One Piece is, and taken that bit of information or like part of it, and put it in a chest at the bottom of the sea. Um, for a couple reasons. One would be just to prove people one day that he had a plan all along, and or not all along, but like in advance, right? But also just as probably as like a Willy Wonka style golden ticket hunt, like see if you can find this thing at the bottom of the ocean, which people are almost certainly going to do. Because if we can go back to this, okay. So you've shown us what the treasure chest looks like. You've shown us the glass and metal casing. We know it's 651 meters deep. We've also seen shots of the boat that it's on. And for a clever person, like a really clever person, that's enough. And I believe word has already gotten out that people know exactly where the One Piece is. Like the real life One Piece. That is the piece of paper that's supposed to say what the One Piece is. So, and I think the people figured it out in less than a day. So that's Oda really underestimating the fervor and obsessiveness of his audience. And I'm just looking at the comments. Plot twist: Oda wrote it down in ancient poneglyph writing. Yeah, sorry. If Oda really wanted to protect what the One Piece is, he would not have done this. There's got to be some sort of catch. He would not let people get it. Shonen Jump would not let people get it. Because that getting spoiled would be devastating. Like, truly devastating. Okay, so let me just... So, unfavorite this. I think we've got some distant thunder. Let's see, what have we got next? We've got a new Digital Circus trailer. This is for episode 8. So let's take a crack at this, and I'm going to go ahead and fix this to where it's more visible. Or, you know what? You know what's better than that? Just doing this. So let's check this out. Episode 8, man. We're coming up on the finale. And by the way, I know there's been a lot of drama around Digital Circus lately. Not all of which I entirely understand, so I won't talk about it too much. Just I'm aware. All right. I know there's some stuff going on. Hopefully, we'll be able to just get these last 2 or so episodes without incident. But yeah, let's check this out. The lover without a heart. The lover had always wanted friends, but he didn't know how to get anyone to love him back. The harder he tried to impress the people with his magic, the more he would drive them away. This is looking to be a very Kane-centric episode, because if I could just go ahead and reload this, we get this very ominous thumbnail, little preview here. So okay. So this is looking to be a pretty Kane-centric episode. This is the story of a little AI who ruined everything.
Surely they don't want to actually leave me, right?
Oh boy, here we go.
Solve any problem. I can solve this one. That's what this is. A big puzzle that I need to solve. Let's get this show on the road.
March 20th. Okay, so in a couple of weeks we'll be able to scope that out. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully nobody spoils me on it. But of course, now you know what we gotta do. We gotta go in frame by frame. No, hold on. We had little bits of glitching here. Okay, I wasn't sure if Jax was like making eye contact. We've got Kane's office, which is one of my favorite locations in the series. So, glad to be going back to this. Trying to see if there's something on his desk that's a clue. Doesn't look like it. There's Bubble right with him in his office. I would be curious to know if Bubble is ever going to actually be like a major force in the story. If Bubble really is just a little goober sidekick, or if this is going to be like a Kefka situation where she's the real villain. He, they. Bubble has a high-pitched voice. It's hard to tell. Let's see what else we got here. This, I can't tell. Have they dialed back the eye size after they got comments on how the eyes were getting kind of out of control? I can't tell. So there's a bomb. Whatever. Ragatha and King are having a conversation. That's cool. Something going through the slides. Not clear on what this is. This is something that was on Kane's desk. I know that much. There's a master hand inside some sort of case. That's kind of scary. That looks like maybe that's a real life thing. There's some hot chocolate that looks absolutely freaking delicious. All the characters falling for some reason. I guess they came out of the slides, like the slides broke or whatever. There's Kane being creepy. Kane has always been creepy. I've been suspicious of him from the beginning. There's Zubul running in the darkness. Zubul, I always wished would have more focus, really. There's a weird portal. That kind of seems like it might be different colors compared to normal portals. There's Ragatha's weird-ass hands. There's Jax's less weird hands. Excuse the constant tapping. So far, the trailer hasn't really said too much yet. All we really know is that this is going to be more about Kane, which I kind of expected. Like, Kane really does come off as the root of all problems. Like, if there's one thing One Piece has taught me, is that if there's a systemic problem, always look to the person at the top. The person in control. Because it is almost certainly going to be their fault. We got a one-on-one between Kane and Kinger. Kinger is implied to be pretty entrenched in the history of the Digital Circus. He's the guy who's been here the longest. He has a computer science degree. So, interesting stuff there. He used to be here with his wife. Lots of bubbles in Kane's office. Not sure what that means. If anything, it's probably just a comedic scene. Framed to create intrigue. That's... Oh. Slow up a bit. That looks like Queener. That's someone who looks like Kinger, but wears red instead. Okay. Probably just going to be a dream sequence, I'm sure. But, yeah. Not sure what's going on here. It's a dot on a grid. There's Kane about to turn into a Titan. There's a blue dot. Kane still about to turn into a Titan. more Kane and Kinger, both warping off together. There's Carr for some reason. Oh, I hope it's vehicular combat. I really do. That would be sick. I hope this is a vehicular combat episode. Here's Cain and Abel. Not getting too many hints from this. There's a very menacing shot of Bubble. Again, this could be a comedic scene framed to be more serious. But I don't know. Maybe Bubble really is a problem. And by the way, where we last left off, by the way, the reveal that like everything about Kane and like all the crazy stuff going on with him being fake. Like I've come to terms with the fact that was 100% fake. Like even the things where Kane was kind of like whispering to himself, or not Kane, Abel. All the times that Abel was like quietly whispering things to himself, they were clearly designed to be overheard in order to lend more realism to his character. Like everything about that was fake. Okay, is that it?
Let's get this show on the road.
Yep, March 20th. Looking to be pretty hype. So, wow. March 22nd, I believe, is shaping up to be jam-packed. For real. Because we're going to have a new Digital Circus episode. If it follows the current trend, it's going to be like really, really long. And then also more Flicks piece. So depending on circumstances, I'm kind of planning on the 15th next stream, being 3 episodes of Flicks piece. And then the 22nd will be 2 episodes and then the new Digital Circus. And then the third one will be like the last couple episodes of Flicks Piece Season 2. Kind of depends. I really got to see how my birthday plans affect things. I really want to get that stream in though on the 15th because that I want to pounce on Flicks Piece while it's new. There's actually one more thing that I wanted to cover. What's going on here? Okay, that's weird. YouTube Studio was just being kind of weird. That's all. Yeah, we've got one thing that I forgot to talk about, which is a new trailer for Onimusha Way of the Sword. So let's go ahead and take a crack at that. It's like Onimusha 4 or 5, depending on your perspective. I kind of don't count Dawn of Dreams because Dawn of Dreams that's just awful, just ass. But let's take a peek at this. Not sure if I'm going to play this. Would very much like for this to get a PC release. I'm definitely not going to be playing on PS5. I don't want to have anything to do with PlayStation anymore. But let's see what we got here. Oh, turn up the volume, please. Way of the Sword. But yeah, we are big. In case anyone doesn't know, we're big fans of Onimusha around here. Do I have the games laying around that I can show off? They're kind of buried in there. But yeah, I have the first 4 Onimushas. I believe there was like a weird well, there were a couple weird spin-offs. There was Onimusha Blade Warriors, which is like a weird, like truly bizarre Smash clone. It's weird how Capcom took a couple cracks at taking their existing IPs and turning them into platform fighters. They did it with Onimusha. They did it with Beautiful Joe. Although I can't remember if Red Hot Rumble was more intended to be like a Mario Party style party game. So I may have that wrong. But yeah, Onimusha 1, 2, and 3 were awesome. And then 4 was garbage, and the series pretty much died after that. Well, not 4, Dawn of Dreams. I don't like to call it 4 because it was so bad. And so just like completely off in terms of tone and aesthetic. And unfortunately, that is the representation of Onimusha that we got in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. And now the series is finally coming back. Which I kind of heard people say, I think ever since Neo came out, that they were kind of... It would have been wise of them to jump onto the Soulsborne or Souls-like genre of ARPGs. That little subgenre. And now it seems like they might be doing that. It's a little unclear how much of the original DNA of Onimusha is in this, but this is called the overview trailer, so I assume it will be very gameplay oriented. Should I? Hold on. Should I make this a little harder to see? I don't know if this is going to be like copywritten or something. I don't want any strikes. So let's tweak this. Let's make it like this, right? And we can tweak this to be a little more visible. There we go.
All new entry to the Onimusha Swordplay action series. Get ready for a soul-shaking swordplay action adventure in the
It kind of, wow, that is fast. That is like the fastest soul-sucking ever. I'm used to soul-sucking being kind of a slow, deliberate process because it's kind of part of the balance. Like, you only have a limited number of time to grab these pickups. So you kind of got to do it in the fray. But if this is how fast you suck up souls, it's going to be like an absolute non-issue. Also, just if we can comment on how many different kinds of soul... Okay, well, first off, this design with like the big evil eye on it is very curious. Also, the impossible space with floating rocks and buildings. That's fascinating. And I guess these are the new zombie soldiers. This is what trips me up. Look at how many blue and yellow souls are here. Blue souls used to be super rare. Or not super rare, but like pretty uncommon because that was how you refilled your magic. Like, Onimusha is kind of a survival game. You're not really meant to just trip over replenishing pickups like magic or health. If you got one, it was a big deal. About as common as like green and white orbs in Devil May Cry. Wait, what did he say?
Onimusha Way of the Sword is set in 17th century Edo period Kyoto.
Okay.
You'll make your way through iconic locales such as Kiyomizu-dera Temple. The protagonist, a lone samurai, Miyamoto Musashi. Let's see your best, Senai. Musashi set out.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure we already knew that wasn't going to be Samanosuke anymore. So yeah, a new guy with the gauntlet. And the Gauntlet is kind of weird because it looks like it's based on the design from Dawn of Dreams, but done up to be like more nasty and slightly more biopunk, like more in line with how it was in 1 through 3. So it's kind of in the middle of those two. Like in 1 through 3, it was like straight up biopunk Guyver looking, grafted biomechanical monstrosity. And 3, it was the basic, like the most basic design elements, but translated to more of just a very simple, like normal gauntlet design, like an actual gauntlet. It wasn't a giant locust creature that was fused to your skin and your flesh. It was just a thing that you could take off and put on like Lego bricks. So I'm curious to know how it's going to behave in this game, if the discrepancy in how the gauntlet works will ever be addressed. Probably not. This is probably just going to be kind of designed for a new audience because it has been so long. I don't imagine it'll go back to that old entrenched history of Onimusha that would alienate newer players. Not unless they do the Devil May Cry thing where they have a history of Onimusha thing that gets people caught up.
And stand peerless above all swordsmen. But the Genma had other plans. Musashi is struck down, but finds himself revived with an Oni gauntlet on his arm.
Sounds very much like a soft reboot.
Rise up against the monstrous Genma ravaging the land, and carve himself a new fate.
Whoa, look at those big, bishy eyes.
A vibrant cast of allies awaits.
Okay. Ally characters, I'm curious to know if you get to play as them. This could be a weird mashup of like a soft reboot that is very Onimusha 1 coded, but borrowing from Onimusha 2 in terms of certain mechanics, like having an ensemble cast that you switch through.
And his old rival, Sasaki Ganryu, stands firmly in his way. With
Oh my gosh. This guy is a piece of work. Look at this freak.
stands firmly in his way.
Bruh.
With blade in hand and fate in the balance, will Musashi
Yep, Osric's back, or a very Osric type enemy.
or despair? Kyoto's history
Cool creature designs.
strange tales and unsettling mysteries. And you can experience strands of these hidden legends woven throughout the story. Feel the ring of steel on steel, intense duels. Reduce
Man, this game is gorgeous.
with a devastating descent.
Oh yeah. Oh, this is one of the roly-poly creatures. Hold on. Hold on. That's the real hero. Is this dude right here. He's, okay, not exactly the same, but like the same concept. Or, I don't know. There was another one standing in the background that looked like, it really does look like the same thing. Like, look at this guy.
Parry and deflect attacks with well-timed blocks to turn
The same creature, but with like slight tweaks to make him blend in with the newer, more realistic art style.
parry and deflect attacks with well-timed
What?
blocks.
What happened?
Parry and deflect attacks with well-timed blocks.
So he parried that one projectile in a ricochet between all different enemies? That's cool.
In your favor.
You can parry Osric? That is hardcore.
Absorb
Dude's a monster. He's freaking huge. Like you saw him, he's like the size of a freaking school bus. Imagine parrying a school bus.
moving from one bloody and desperate battle to the next.
Wait, what? Hold on a second. Let me just karate chop my microphone real quick. There's like environmental stuff going on?
Be powerful abilities.
Well, slow up, slow up.
To recover health or ready power.
He's got like twin blades. That's cool.
for full ability.
Although I noticed that the color of his little eye thing doesn't change. That's a little disappointing. Even though that's clearly an Oni weapon.
Moving from one bloody and desperate battle to the next, Musashi searches.
Yeah, I can do table stuff. WWE style table stuff.
What answers will he find?
Oh my gosh, those guys again. Like that's a new enemy, but at the same time it's very much in the same enemy type of like dudes with tentacles who are just the most annoying thing ever. We've got like big dragon bludgeons
Of his blade.
that I think I found out which weapon I'm gonna be maining. I think I found out which one I'm gonna take to level 3 right away.
Will he find
That is crazy.
his blade?
They're big maces shaped like dragons, and they're heavy weapons. So heavy that they like Whitebeard Gura Gura no Mi style smash the air around them. That is sick. That is sick. And we've got another Shippu style, like light wind elemental, like Naginata. Expected, really. Oh, hold on. Like, wait a tick. So is this a thing? Did he like hit an explosive and the flame got caught up in the wind attack to make it a windy flame attack?
Miyamoto Musashi walks the perilous path of the Onimusha.
That's a cool creature.
A new legend will be forged.
Oh no. Are those tentacle guys going to have a thing where they're only vulnerable when their eyes are open? Those guys are probably going to be really annoying. They're going to be really grabby, and they're going to not be vulnerable for large periods of time. I don't know about that. That's like the one worrying thing about me. If I see like one problematic enemy type, the next thing I worry about is, oh boy, am I going to be saddled with these dudes for a long ass time? Are they going to be like all over the place, like completely ubiquitous? I'll have to fight them over and over again. And the Onimusha 1 and 2 pack is now available. Great. Now you get to enjoy the HD Onimusha Warlords with the inferior soundtrack, because there was some, like, the big drama about plagiarism because the composer, Heart of Ghost composer, who plagiarized somebody else, so we're not allowed to use that music anymore, even though it's totally iconic and that's what I grew up with. And like yes, it's unethical, but like the damage has already been done. It's too late. I've fallen in love with that soundtrack, and like there's nothing I can do. I just gotta have that soundtrack. At least it has real-time weapon switching, right? And then Onimusha by the way, according to Jaren, Onimusha Warlords has a new hard mode that's just completely intolerable. It's like the worst kind of hard mode where it's just really a ball buster. It's kind of slapped on to a game that was not designed to have it. And then Onimusha 2. The HD release of which I will never play because I am offended by their decision to censor an unlockable costume for OU that was designed to be very risque and revealing, which is like that just seems so backwards to me. Like it's designed to be this way, and now you're just gouging out. You are surgically removing the entire appeal of this outfit, and I wholeheartedly reject the idea that it was acceptable before but not now for some reason. Like, just really comes off as just sacrificing artistic integrity in the name of appealing to a new, more like morally and ethically strict audience. That frankly speaking, I think is just straight up imaginary. Like their appeal to people's ethics and morals by covering up any and all naughty bits is just really misguided and ineffective and offensive, really. I would always much rather just crack open my old Onimusha 2 copy for PS2 and play it as intended, completely uncensored. Like, this ain't it, bro. Like, I want to love the Onimusha series, but Capcom keeps turning me against it. Whether it's Dawn of Dreams being like a crappy, like softcore Musou game with a pseudo anime art style and a new protagonist that is just like a black hole of charisma, and Samanosuke doesn't work the way he's supposed to anymore, and he's a secondary character, and all the playable characters are now hyper specialized. Their roles in combat feel overly narrow. There's lots of padding. Just the list goes on and on for all the problems that I have with Dawn of Dreams. Or it's making a pretty piss poor platforming fighter, or Onimusha Souls, which is like I think a mobile game, and then just putting the entire franchise in the freezer for way too long. Like, I want to love the series, but they keep doing stuff like this that turns me against it. So hopefully Way of the Sword can reverse this trend of Onimusha just disappointing and offending me over and over again. And hopefully, like, I don't know, let me watch a little bit more. Did they say it was going to get a PC release? It doesn't say, did they say it was exclusive? Did they? It says PS5, but it doesn't say PS5 exclusive. It does not. If it's not on PC, I'm not playing it. And by the way, there was a Capcom Spotlight recently, but no Beautiful Joe 3 announcement. Like, this is what this is from, by the way. This Way of the Sword trailer was part of the Capcom Capcom showcase, but no Beautiful Joe 3, so I didn't really bother watching it. If Beautiful Joe 3 ever gets announced, I will be the first person you will hear it from, because that's when I'm gonna drop like an emergency video upload where I just start foaming at the mouth like that one guy in The Last Airbender. I don't know. But yeah, hopefully this is a PlayStation exclusive. I know all the others, Onimusha Souls not included, were PlayStation exclusive, but you know, it's been a while, and we're in a new age. Like the last proper Onimusha game came out on PlayStation 2. So hopefully it will not be exclusive. So we covered that. There's really only one more thing I wanted to touch on, and that was this video. So, if I can crack this open, and we're gonna have to watch it like, a little bit harder to see than that, because obviously this is going to feature lots of Death Note footage, and I don't want to get a copyright strike. So if we can tone down the visibility immensely. Even more than that, like down to 25%. So yeah, this is a video that I tripped over at a time when I was like binging lots of Death Note content, lots of Death Note reactions, lots of Death Note discussions. And it's called Light Yagami Was Never Smart, Every Dumb Mistake in Death Note, Complete Kira vs. L story from Anime Balls Deep. That's the channel name. And kind of pouring over Death Note again. There are some clear mistakes, I think, that these supposedly infallible genius characters make. But let's go ahead and give it a watch. And again, just as a reminder, we do not support parasitizing content here on Cross Age Productions. We are all about curation and critique. So if you guys would, please just go out and support Anime Balls Deep yourselves watching the original video. So let's fire this up. Again, it's Light Yagami Was Never Smart, Every Dumb Mistake in Death Note, Complete Kira vs. L story by Anime Balls Deep. It's 35 minutes and 41 seconds long. Let's go ahead and fire it up because, we are big. You can't see it. It's out of frame. It's down here. We are big Death Note fans, and I have a whole Death Note cube right over here. So, looking forward to this.
I rewatched Death Note and
That was really loud. That was loud.
the so-called smartest genius in anime, Light Yagami? Well, it turns out he's actually a complete idiot. Everyone thinks he only made like 5 mistakes, but this man fumbled over 30 times.
Yeah, and by the way, let me just say, Light Yagami was never truly infallible. There were obvious mistakes that he made, but they were very in character for him. Examples of his pride and emotion overwhelming his rationality. But I'll be interested to see what the full list is.
So today,
Just hold on. Before we dig into this any deeper, if I could just hold on. Ugh. Excuse me. I've got some blockage in my nose, and I just wouldn't want to blow my nose like on stream. That's not very appropriate, but okay. All right. Hopefully I don't get a nosebleed on stream. But okay, here we go. We're back in it.
we're breaking down every mistake Light made in order to be poor, roasting how the god of the new world tripped over his own ego, and diving into the psychology that made him believe his crimes were actually righteous.
I am curious to know if he's going to delve into mistakes that other characters made, because I feel like L also made certain leaps in logic, and there are just steps that should have been taken sooner to catch Light that were not taken.
Despite just how smart Light Yagami is, it really didn't take much time to start slipping up. Now, up front, we aren't going to be copping out by saying picking up the Death Note was a mistake. We'll be starting from the point that Light gets the book and realizes that it is the real deal. To be fair, he gets off on a pretty strong foot. The first thing he does is read all the rules. Most of us never read the terms of service of anything and suffer from reading comprehension, so he's done a good job so far. And once Light understands the rules,
Wait. Hold on a sec. Do I still have my audio filters on? I do not. So, okay, good.
he asks a very important question. If I write down someone's name and they die, does that make me a murderer? Of course, he just brushes this off as ridiculous because he doesn't believe it is possible. However, soon the news begins talking about Kuro Otoharada, a criminal who has taken 8 people hostage at a daycare. Light writes the man's name down without hesitation, and boom! 40 seconds later, Kuro dies from a heart attack, becoming Light's first victim. But the thing
Okay.
is, Light never really stops to ask himself if he is a murderer again. Instead, he rushes to test the Death Note again to see if it was just a coincidence.
Okay.
He really has the power to take anyone's life with a few pen strokes. First, he decides to only use it on criminals. Then, when he sees a bully from his school, he rationalizes that he should avoid using the death note on people that he knows. But these are still loose rules at this point, as Light keeps considering what to do with his new power. He looks at the world around him and suggests that he might actually be doing society a favor by getting rid of all the terrible people out there. And luckily, he immediately gets a chance to put this into action when this dude Tako Shibuimaru and his gang attack a woman on the street.
I'm sorry. Are we going to get to the part that this video is supposed to be about? Because I did click on the right thing, right? Every dumb mistake in Death Note. So far, this has just been a very, like factual recap of the events of Death Note with no meaningful critical input whatsoever. We're pretty deep in this video already, and he hasn't gotten to the part where he actually talks about mistakes.
So, Light writes his name down, and in 40 seconds, Takuo is hit by Truck-kun. As a result, the Death Note is...
What?
Gang attack a woman on the street. So, Light writes...
First off, I just want to say, thank you for quoting ER. ER is a great YouTuber, by the way. I love his content on Legend of Korra, especially.
By Truck-kun. As a result, the Death Note is now confirmed to be real. Light officially holds the power to decide who deserves to live and die. And in his mind, he's already a hero, saving both the woman on the street and the daycare hostages. But by the next time we see Light, he has written down dozens of names, like killing all of the world's major criminals.
Okay.
Ryuk even mentions and is bamboozled, thinking, bruh, how despite several death notes falling into human hands in the past, Light is the first to write so many names down, and he's only had the book for 5 days at this point. Light had rationalized that the world was rotten, and those who are corrupting it deserve to die. Someone had to do it, so even if he had to give up his mind and soul, he would...
Okay, dude, we already know a lot of this. This is not new or interesting dialogue.
Or would have wasted the opportunity. But then he completely exposes himself. When Ryuk asks why he's really using it, Light admits he wants the world to know he exists. That there's some godlike figure out there judging the wicked. Because guess what? Light Yagami is bored. This pretty much
This video is not good so far, because a lot of it is him just paraphrasing things that were said in anime. And to lampshade this even more, we are seeing the scenes that he is paraphrasing in real time in the video as he is paraphrasing them. So he has no actual interesting input. Like, we are coming up on 4 minutes deep in this video, and he hasn't said anything that we don't already know. Like, this video is made with the assumption that the people watching it have seen / read One Piece, right? So instead of going over stuff we already know, how about you get to the heart of the matter, which is every dumb mistake in Death Note? I'd rather analyze that.
Who believes they are so much better and smarter than everyone around them that they are bored to death of their day-to-day life. And so when he receives true power, he solves that boredom by giving himself a quest to become a god of justice. Even when Ryuk calls him out, saying once all the criminals are gone, he'll be the last one left, bruh, he just brushes it off thinking, I don't know what you're talking about, bruh. Because in his head, the rules don't apply to the one who makes them. This is where the real story begins. And right out of the gate...
Well, I mean, that's not really true. Like, we've gone from saying things that are obvious that people know to things that aren't true. It's not that he thinks the rules don't apply to the person who makes them. It's that he indulges in, like, moral licensing. Like, I'm awesome. I'm epic. I'm super smart and a hard worker. I'm super like ethical and moralistic. Everybody loves me. I'm the best. And so I am licensed to pass judgment on other people. That's why Light does it. It's not that he thinks like whatever. I make the rules around here. Doesn't matter. Whatever. That's not Light's thing. That is, I'm gonna go ahead and say it, and no pun intended, but that's kind of an L take.
His first mistake. Light researches every single target on his own personal computer before writing their names down, right? Like when 50 plus criminals drop dead 40 seconds after.
Yeah. Like, I'm trying to think when this series first came out, right? Hold on a sec. Let me just brush up on this. When was Death Note first published? I'm trying to think if it was published at a time when... Okay, 2003... Okay, 2003. Let's think about the context for a second. I feel like this was at a time when cyber security and cyber policing were not on the same level that they are now. It's not the epic, like omnipresent surveillance network that it is today. So being tracked down by his browsing history, not as much of an issue, I think, back in 2003. Maybe cyber policing was just beginning to ramp up, because I thought it's just about the time when law enforcement was starting to think, oh, this is like a whole new frontier for like really sick and disgusting crime. Maybe we should police this space as well. But like, I don't know.
Does some teenager in Japan Googles them? Yeah, that's not subtle. That's a red flag right there. Later, Light even claims he could just.
Well, here's the problem. How do you distinguish Light's browsing history from other people who just naturally take an interest in crime? That's how I feel about it. Because there are people who are like that. There are people who are like way into crime. They watch a lot of news. They watch a lot of like true crime, criminal stories, series about criminals. They're just tapped into that because that's their vibe. That's their aesthetic. And furthermore, you're trying to track this person based on their browsing history, kind of at a point when it's too late, because once this trend has started, other people are going to start looking into it too, because they too will be curious about criminals, which criminal might be the next victim for this moral purge, this crusade that Light is committing. Like, I don't know. I don't know if it would be that easy to home in on him just based on his browsing history.
Say he was researching criminals to become a detective.
That being said, now later when they do pick up on Light's scent, that would be a time when Light would probably start to worry about his browsing history, because you can try and delete it from your own personal history, but as far as I understand it, it never really goes away. I don't know. Again, this is like 2003, so maybe like logging people's visits to different websites wasn't really as much of a thing back then. But again, once he's under surveillance, that's when they'll probably start to notice. And he does take measures. Like, he does resort to the little like mini TV in the bag of potato chips and the very famous potato chip scene. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. 2003 is too far back for me to remember or even think about what cybercrime and cyber law enforcement was like back at a time when the World Wide Web was still in a pretty formative period.
But that's a really flimsy excuse. And this is around 2005. It isn't like he has a VPN to encrypt his location.
No. 2003. The manga was published first in 2003. When exactly in 2003? Oh, I forgot to pull it back up. Go back again. Oh, December 1st, 2003. So more like 2004, frankly. 2004, nah, I'm still going to give it the benefit of the doubt and say that cyber policing was still kind of weak.
But this mistake doesn't stop there, people. Light is only able to effectively research criminals and write in the death note after he finishes school each day.
Now, see, this is what I consider to be the first major mistake. After learning that he can control the time of death for his victims, Light never should have scheduled deaths in accordance with a high school schedule in the first place. He should have immediately started taking advantage of the ability to more freely plan the time of death, to spread his attacks across a 24-hour period. The fact that that wasn't in his mind from the beginning, I don't know. I'm just saying, if I were in Light's shoes and somehow I was twisted in the head enough to somehow morally license this kind of absurd crime, I would be so paranoid. Even though it is the perfect weapon, can get to anyone across any distance, leaving no trace behind, absolutely no evidence. All you have to do is see their face and know their name, and you can get anybody. The whole point of this series is proving that even with an almost perfect weapon, just short of just thinking or wishing someone was dead and then it just happens, you can still get caught. So I would have just taken every precaution and just actually make use of the whole you get to choose the time of death thing. Why Light didn't do that from the beginning is pretty confusing to me. Just really telegraphs. You didn't have to be L. You didn't have to be a super ultra detective to figure out that there's a pattern to when these people die.
Which L basically uses to rule out potential places that the killer could be from. After all, it's pretty unlikely that the few hours the death note is being used each day would be in the middle of the night when people are asleep or during school or working hours. That basically leaves
Uh-oh. Big thunderstorm.
as a possibility of where Kira resides. Light being this reckless, killing so many people so fast, is exactly what gets L on his case. If he just paced himself, he could have stayed invisible, but nah.
Yeah.
Noticed, just like he said. So whilst it's not a total screw up, it's definitely an ego-fueled risk that kickstarts his entire downfall. Many of the mistakes in this video, they're going to be risky gambles that Light makes. Some of these pay off in his favor, whilst others do not. This brings us to Light's biggest mistake of all. After L takes notice of him and begins his investigation, he creates a TV broadcast where Lynn
Yeah, this was a pretty obvious bait. The whole idea, right? The whole idea, if I can just turn the volume down a bit. The idea that Light does not even suspect that this is in any way a ploy that this is bait. The whole idea of L is that he is like super secretive. Nobody knows what he looks or sounds like. And then when he's up against like the greatest criminal of all, that's when he suddenly reveals his name, face, and voice. Light really had to pick up on the fact that this was a ploy to get him to expose himself. At the very least, he should have known that the person on TV was not who he presented himself to be. He had to know at least that much. And if he was going to write this person's name in the death note, how about do it like way later? Just like randomly mix it in with your regular schedule to where it happens like 2 weeks out from the original broadcast. And then you wouldn't have just like announced, basically geolocated yourself for L that way. Like, even if Light had no reason to suspect that L was lying about it being a simultaneous global broadcast, just like, no, dude, not right after the broadcast. That is so sus.
Kira could truly kill anyone at any time. But that's not all. This test revealed plenty of truths to L. Firstly, because Lind was a prisoner who was secretly imprisoned by police and never made public, that tells L that Kira only has access to publicly available information. Secondly, because Light can't kill the real L, even when taunted, that means there is a requirement for him to kill people. And since the only things that separated L and Lynn Taylor are the name and face being presented, that is likely involved. And finally,
Yep.
whilst the broadcast was said to be worldwide, it was actually only shown in the Kanto region of Japan. The reason this location was selected is both because of its population density and because of the daycare incident. The first time where a criminal suddenly collapsed from a heart attack. And because
Yep.
that daycare criminal was such a low-level target compared to the others, it proved Kira was just testing his new power. So from this one mistake, L now knows his location, his limitations, and that he's still inexperienced with the Death Note. If one little hit to his ego was enough to make Light lose control and start killing innocent people, that says it all. From this point on, his morality's gone. He'll justify anything if it means his own survival. But it wouldn't be long before Light made his
Yeah.
mistake. After hacking into his father's police files to see what they knew about Kira,
Now, here's another thing where this series is a product of its time, so I can't speak to how things were back then. But don't computer files normally have something that say like date last accessed or last modified or whatever, or there's some sort of feature in the file browser where you're able to see what your most recently accessed files are and when they were accessed. They kind of become temporarily shortcutted in case you want to go back to them.
Light learns that they suspect a student because of the times of death.
There should have been some way for his dad to figure out that Light was looking through his computer files.
As well as the naive black and white view on justice that this Kira has. To adapt to this, he begins adding times to the kills the Death Note would do, killing one person every hour throughout the day and night to avoid showing a pattern that could lead to his discovery. However,
Yeah, this was another dumb mistake. Changing up his schedule immediately after finding out that L suspected Kira was a student. That was the only reason he did that. Like, first off, that was just dumb. Like, you've totally tipped off L to the fact that Kira has access to police information, to information not just from the police, but people directly involved in the investigation, the Kira investigation. And so L is going to start investigating his own team and people connected to it. So changing that was dumb. What was doubly dumb is that like knew this would happen, and that is why he wanted to do it in the first place, because he counted on making some sort of appeal to their emotions and their paranoia. That if he could tip L off to the fact that the people involved in the investigation are suspicious or who have at the very least been compromised, then L and the task force would start laying into each other and butting heads, because the task force does not like being surveilled and suspected. That kind of ploy is just not reliable or beneficial enough to risk exposing yourself. Like, you betting on the task force having a visceral emotional response to being investigated by L is just like, I struggle to understand the risk to reward ratio on that. Like, how I could possibly convince himself that it was worth making himself look more suspicious just to make the task force upset.
This is another case of Light acting too quickly, because he changed his habits immediately after the police began suspecting a student. So L realizes that Kira has some kind of connection to the task force and their personal files. Now, admittedly, Light knows he is giving himself up and says he is doing it so that he can get closer to L. However, knowing that you are taking a risky gamble doesn't make that risky gamble any less dangerous. At this point, he is more concerned with his pride being challenged by L than he is about creating justice. And that is something that will continue to put him in L's sights. Now, there are 141 officers who had access to those files, and it wouldn't be long before L sends the FBI to track them and their families in hopes of learning who Kira is. Naturally, Lai soon has an agent on him, and this is where Ryuk makes an offer. In exchange for half of Light's life, he could give him Shinigami Eyes. These would give Light the ability to...
Okay, yes, we know this.
Just by looking at that, Light turns the deal down because he wants to live long enough to rule the world. Now, the funny thing is, just a few weeks ago, before L bruised his ego, this same guy was ready to trade his life and soul for justice, right? So it's hard to say if not taking this deal is a mistake or not. However, this would have essentially guaranteed Light's victory against L.
No, this... I could not call this a mistake. Like, saying that he was willing to risk his life and sanity was in the context that there was an inherent risk to becoming Kira and doing what Kira does. Not in the sense that he would ever intentionally sacrifice his own life and sanity.
But he fumbled the bat. If I had to make a real guess, I'd say the only reason that Light actually turns this down is he believes relying on Shinigami Eyes would be admitting that he wasn't smart enough to defeat L on his own and sees it as cheating. Now, before addressing the
I don't know about that. Now, before I say anything absolute, I understand that there are differences between the anime and the manga, so maybe this is a manga thing. But he says the series started in 2005, so that makes me think that he is mostly referring to the anime. But as far as I can tell, in the anime, there is no there is no objection to cheating in in Light's mind. Like, that is not the rationale behind why he doesn't take the deal.
Controlling prisoners he was targeting.
He just wants to live to see the world he dreams of come to fruition.
Possible things like make someone travel from Japan to Paris
And giving up half his life is just too risky.
lead to their death.
It would screw up his plans.
Light's FBI agent, Ray Penber, follows Light and finds that there is nothing suspicious about him. However, Light has no way of knowing that he is in the clear. So because of that, he sets up an elaborate bus jacking to learn Ray's name. Whilst he ends up believing that Light is in the clear, his girlfriend Naomi finds the whole situation to be too convenient. A week later, Light
Yeah.
finds Ray and forces him to write down the names of all 12 FBI agents into the Death Note before Light kills him as well. Now, Light had no way of knowing that this was a mistake to him because he was clearing out a whole swarm of potential threats and ultimately got much of the world's police forces to back away from the investigation as tracking Kira became seen as being too
Yeah. Now, obviously, the real mistake here was just
is that
choosing to gloat about his victory
covering his
because, and I'm pretty sure he's about to talk about it right now, that one moment where Ray Pember looks back into the train and sees Light there, and he like reaches out. It's like, oh my gosh! And then there's like footage of that Elle reviews. That's what tips him off to the idea that Kira was on that train at that time.
tracks, he just put himself on Naomi's radar and proved to Elle that Kira was definitely one of the people being watched by the FBI. This marks another massive drop in Light's morality. He just killed a dozen of innocent people and agents who had nothing to do with him, all just to protect his identity, right? And the craziest part is that Ray tried to save Light's life during that bus hijacking. So where does that fit into his whole cleansing the world of evil thing? I mean, at this point, it's clear anyone's fair game for Light to kill. This change leads to almost every officer stepping down from the investigation, leaving only a small task force of 5 men and Elle to hunt down Kira. Elle actually takes a risk as he agrees to join the investigation in person going forward.
Okay.
And whilst on the surface this seems like something that would benefit Light, in actuality, all it did was remove all the members of the investigation who weren't dedicated to the cause or who Elle couldn't trust. However, the mistake Light made keeps escalating. Killing Ray Penber keeps coming back to bite him in the ass because he doesn't just make one mistake here, he makes several. Firstly, he has Ray carry an envelope onto the train and leave it behind when he gets off. That instantly tips Elle off that something's missing. Then there's the timer. The Yamanote does a full loop in 30 minutes, but Light made Ray stay on it for an entire hour so that no one would notice him leaving the envelope behind. Bro literally made him more suspicious because no one would ride the same train twice in a row for fun. And finally, Light's ego gets the best of him. He reveals himself to Ray before killing him. So when Elle checks the security footage, he notices Ray struggling to turn back, reaching out towards someone. And that's all Elle needed to realize that Kira was right there. But there's still Naomi. She goes to meet with the special investigation.
Naomi, not Naomi.
Happens to run into Light at the station. They talk briefly about the bus hijacking, and from what Ray had told her, Naomi pieces everything together. Kira can kill in ways other than heart attacks. He can control people before they die, and whoever Ray was following, it had to be Kira. Now, luckily for Light, he stops her before she can report it, but the only reason he's even in this mess is because of his own sloppy decisions to kill Ray and the other FBI agents agents in the first place. Naomi even gives him a fake name, nearly exposing Light, something that wouldn't have been a problem if he had taken the Shinigami ideal. Now in the end, Light lies his way out, tricks her into revealing her real name, and makes her take her own life. It's one of the darkest moments in the entire series, where any shred of morality Light had, it
Yeah, that scene is pretty wild.
but all of this leads to yet another mistake. Unfortunately for
That scene was like super tense because it was the first time Light basically needed to take like really wild risks in order to get out of a do or die situation. And it's not the first time we've seen that Light has a taste for blood, that he has actually started to enjoy his domination of other people, and it's not just him solemnly carrying out his duty, but it is the first time that you see him really, like, it just feels way more sick than the whole Lindell Taylor thing.
Light, he becomes a suspect. This is because Naomi had worked under L in the past, and
Like, seeing him take glee in forcing this woman to wear the world's least comfortable necktie
of her
is pretty sick.
herself to be quite out of character. As a result, L assumes Kira is involved and focuses the
That's interesting, actually. Can we go back to that? Great inner strength with an excellent FBI agent. I think she tried to go after Kira. That's interesting because there is a rule in the Death Note that says that this style is like is it's seen as a plausible course of action for pretty much any human, and yet according to L, Naomi just wasn't like that. So I don't know. That was always one thing about Death Note that I thought was weird. That sort of played into what was probably a very personal belief from the writer.
character. As a result, L assumes Kira is involved and focuses the investigation solely on the people Ray Penbell was following, putting
I don't know. It just seems like a bit of a contrivance because there were all those experiments Light had that proved that the Death Note wouldn't work if it commanded someone to do something that was entirely out of character. But then this idea that anyone can take their own life, it just seems like a bit of a contradiction.
Yagami on the list. This makes it obvious that Light's mistakes are quite literally building up on top of each other and continuously putting him in positions where he needs to make defensive decisions, which would only lead to more mistakes. These defensive choices are actually a huge problem for Light, as they cause him to overcorrect. For example, he has several security measures set up all around his room, which L notes to be not particularly weird for a 17-year-old who wants a sense of privacy because he wants to, bust a nut. But then all Light actually does with that is look at a few dirty magazines. It's like setting up Fort Knox to protect a $20 bill. It's just inconsistent, and as L puts it, it's overly contrived. Now, in Death Note, How to Read page 70, the creators revealed one of the biggest secrets about L's investigation.
I feel like to some extent this is just a natural concession of this being like a Shonen Jump series that children are supposed to be able to read. Is there's no way they're actually going to have a scene where Light whips out the They're not going to have a scene where like graphically cranks it, you know.
In episode 6, remember when L states that he's prepared some tricks to see if any of them are Kira? Now, it turns out those tricks were the exact same ones he later used on Light during their coffee shop conversation after the tennis match. According to the author, L already knew Kira was a genius. The reason the other task force members passed L's test was because they were too simple-minded to even keep up with him. L expected Kira to be arrogant.
Hold on, let me read that bit of dialogue again. I didn't even feel the need to use it on any of you.
Up with him. L expected Kira to be arrogant and smart enough to play his game. And guess who took that bait? You're goddamn right. Light Yagami. During that cafe scene, every time Light tried to sound clever to match L's logic, all he was doing is basically confirming L's theory that he's Kira. If Light had just played dumb, he could have thrown L off completely, but Light's ego wouldn't let him. He had to flex his brain and it backfired hard. But how did L even figure out that Kira was intelligent in the first place? Well, it all started in chapter 8, when Light sends the weird coded message, L, do you know gods of death love apples? Whilst Light thought this was a perfect distraction, to L it was the exact opposite. It proved Kira was playing 5D chess. He realized whoever this killer was, they were methodical, strategic, and smart enough to outthink the world's best detective. So from that moment on, L knew that Kira is an egomaniac. Like, remember when L puts a broadcast banner on TV stating the international police are sending 1,500 units to Japan? But Light's reaction is extremely casual and nonchalant. He knows L is looking for a reaction, so he gives him nothing. However, a normal person would react in some way, because that's pretty crazy news, especially considering his dad is leading the task force. In fact, that's why we see both his mother and his sister act surprised, whilst Light is the only one not affected by the news. In this instance, Light's ego even gets involved, and he takes it one step further, calling out L for even trying to get a reaction and stating, quite frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if Kira sees right through this. Eventually, to avoid suspicion whilst L's cameras are watching him, Light comes up with a new plan. He hides a tiny TV screen inside a bag of potato chips so that he
I'm sorry. Can we talk about how this setup works? Because in order for this to work, wouldn't it have to be a brand new bag of chips? If it's a bag of chips that's been opened before, wouldn't there be suspicion that like could like smuggle something into the bag that he could use to like do his Kira thing? It would have to be a new bag, right? But then how do you put like a little tiny TV and a piece of Death Note inside of a potato chip bag that has not been opened? He would have to. What he would have to do is covertly open the bag, very discreetly, in a way that doesn't like visibly damage the bag, and then like covertly glue it back together so that it seems like he's opening up a brand new bag of chips.
secretly watched the news while pretending to study. And yeah, he actually kills 2 criminals mid-snap. Now the problem is that this completely breaks Kira's pattern of killing people. This is because Light's so desperate to prove the killings are still happening without him that he targets 2 random nobodies. A bank clerk accused of embezzlement and a purse snatcher. These aren't the cold-blooded killers Kira was supposed to judge. But despite all that, L eventually decides to remove the cameras. He figures that if Kira is in one of these houses, he's already proven he can hide his tracks. So keeping the surveillance running is pointless. But still, L's not done. He's convinced the Yagami family is connected somehow. So what does he do? He walks straight up to Light and he introduces himself. He says flat out, I'm L. And once again, Light...
Oh my gosh, freaking iconic scene. Absolutely love it.
And ends up looking even more suspicious by having no reaction. Like, think about it. The world's greatest detective Ultron just revealed his true identity, and Light's reaction is basically, huh? Oh yeah, I'm a big fan. That's neat. Like, bruh. So as you can tell, Light is so focused on not looking panicked that he completely freezes and barely gives any emotion at all. He even refuses to look at Elle throughout the rest of the entrance ceremony. And I don't know about you, but if Bruce Wayne walks up to me and says, I'm Batman, I'm gonna be at least a little interested. And the same patterns of mistake happen again. When Elle tells Light there's a small chance he might be Kira. And once more, Light barely reacts. He's not shocked or denying it at all. Now you'd think being accused of being the world's most dangerous killer would get some emotion out of him, but nah. He stays ice cold saying, what? Oh, why? So that brings us to the cafe meeting between the two.
Yeah, I suppose he does have a point. Light does have a habit of over-correcting and under-reacting.
Slides over photos of the prisoner notes. Even
Like, he tries too hard to be innocent and kind of... I don't know how to put it. He goes too far, I guess.
testing him with small psychological traps, each one designed to see how his mind works. And here's where Light makes another mistake. Because he hates losing or feeling outsmarted, he can't resist showing off. Instead of downplaying his intelligence to stay under the radar, he overanalyzes every test, basically confirming Elle's suspicions. So I count that as a mistake because Elle basically said, why did you assume that there was only 3? There's actually 4, but somehow you came to such a great conclusive point where I'm like, bro, you must be the dude. However,
Okay, now, slow up a bit, because I feel like this is kind of bogus. I would have fallen into this too, because there was no real reason to assume that Elle would withhold information. I don't know. It almost feels like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like, Elle gives Light these 3 pictures, and let's just say that Light wasn't Kira. He is still perfectly capable of coming to the conclusion that these 3 pictures spell out a secret message. There was no reason to suspect that Elle would just hold out and not give Light all the pictures that he would need to draw an actual conclusion. Even in the scenario where Light isn't Kira, except for maybe the production dates on the backs of the pictures. But then you could have just as easily assumed that they were just printed out of order. Like, that's not such a bizarre thing. I don't know. That feels like a mistake on Elle's part, where Elle jumps to conclusions. Where he does not entertain the idea that even if Light is not Kira, you can still come to a wrong conclusion based on what I think most people would consider to be natural assumptions. Like, this guy's asking you if you can extrapolate anything from these pictures that he gives you. There's no reason to believe that there's actually a secret 4th picture. There just isn't. I don't know. That's the thing about Elle that I think is weird.
by episode 10, Elle is almost entirely sure that Light is Kira, and it's revealed in a very subtle moment that you may not have noticed.
But at the same time, I can see how Light probably could have played to this, because if he notes that the production dates for these photos are different, then he probably should have asked, like, is there more to the message? Are these all the parts of the secret message, or is there more that has yet to come out? Like, has Kira finished releasing all the parts of the secret message. But in the end, it could go either way. I don't think it's safe for Elle to draw any conclusions at all from that interaction.
After Light's father has a heart attack, Elle tells Light about the investigation and the involvement of the FBI. However, Light cuts him off at one point and states that he must be a suspect because he was one of the people Ray was following. The mistake Light makes here is that Elle never told Light that Ray had been looking into it. Light then goes on to say that it makes sense that he's a suspect now and then quickly asks to help with the investigation.
Wait, hold on a second.
He was one of the people Ray was following. The mistake Light makes here is that Elle never told Light that Ray had been looking into it. Light then goes on to say
One more time.
that Elle never told Light that Ray had been looking into it.
No, but he doesn't necessarily have to. Light can be forthcoming with that information, I think, without suspicion.
Light then goes on to say that it makes sense that he's
Because he has the alibi. The alibi that he had rationale behind finding out who Ray Pember was, what his real name was, and then Ray Pember dies by accident and not by a heart attack. And Elle still has no reason to believe that Light can take people out by ways other than a heart attack.
suspect now and then quickly asks to help with the investigation. This actually follows up on an earlier speculation that Elle made about Kira. In episode 5, he mentions that based on the personality he believes Kira has, if he ever found out about the Task Force HQ, he would immediately rush to try and get involved. And that's exactly what Light does. The first chance he gets, he asks to join. Now, to cover his tracks, Light says he promised his father that if anything happened to him, he would hunt Kira down and make sure he's executed for his crimes. But the next big mistake is just around the corner. This all goes down when Elle visits Light at the university, right after Misa shows up as the second Kira. Elle knows he's putting his life on the line just by meeting them. So before going in, he warns the task force, if anything happens to me, it's because Light is Kira. He's literally baiting him to make a move. But then Misa arrives and everything...
Yeah, this is about to be a big one.
Use her Shinigami eyes to get Elle's real name. But before she can, she's mobbed by a crowd of fans. Now, in the chaos, Elle casually reaches into her pocket and steals her phone. And that's the trap being set up. The
Yeah.
moment walks away, he immediately calls her. And that's all the confirmation Elle needs. He now knows they're working together and plotting against him. Light's impatience completely ruins him here. If he just waited until that night, the call would have seemed normal, like a boyfriend checking in on his girlfriend. But calling her right after she meets Elle, that makes her look instantly suspicious, especially since her method of killing is clearly different from the original Kira. This mistake could have been avoided if Light wasn't impatient. But speaking of Misa, this is where things start getting even messier for our boy. Around this point, he brings two new players into the Kira game. First is Misa, who offers to be his personal weapon, as long as Light agrees to be her boyfriend. Then there's Higuchi, a businessman...
Higuchi? Really?
a temporary
It's Higuchi.
criminals whilst Light and Misa are locked up by the task force with their memories wiped. Both of these alliances happen out of necessity, but let's be honest, it's because of the mess Light already made. Every new plan is just him trying to patch up the mistakes from the last one. For instance, a second Kira pops up, and Light chooses to follow her invitation to meet in Oyama. And because he decides to go there, Misa learns his true identity and puts him in a position where he essentially has to work with her. And this is a problem. Whilst Misa much smarter than most people give her credit for, she is objectively not even close to smart enough to be trying to get involved in Light and L's game. Not only that, but she is emotionally unstable and completely unpredictable, which constantly makes Light's job more difficult.
Crap about a Mountain Dew.
Run in the manga. Mello guesses
I've got another can, but I'm probably going to wrap up the stream soon.
as so featherbrained that it is hard to believe Kira ever willingly employed her. So that kind of seals the deal. As for Higuchi, he uses the death.
Oh my gosh, Higuchi is so cursed.
The task force learns about it and the Shinigami that truly exists. But before we jump too far ahead, let's talk about the moment Light gives up the Death Note and loses all his memories as Kira. Now during this phase, he's basically in the clear. Sure, he's still handcuffed to L, but since everyone believes Kira can control others like puppets, L assumes Light and Misa were just being manipulated. So once they're caught, the logic is simple. Kira would just move on to a new host. That means for the first time in ages, Light can't slip up because technically he's not even Kira anymore, or at least that's what everyone thinks. Once Higuchi is captured and Light regains his memories, the fake rules in the book they added prove their innocence. This ultimately creates a path for Light to get Misa her Death Note back and make the ideal again. He then forces Rem into a position where she must sacrifice herself and kill L in an attempt to save Misa's life. And with that, Light has won and L is defeated. However, there are still two more threats out there, Mello and Nair. But Light's ego, it's more out of control now. With L gone, he genuinely believes the hard part is over. So now he can do whatever he wants with no consequences. If he could outsmart the world's greatest detective, then surely he can get out of any situation as well. And because of this, he becomes overconfident and underestimates Nair.
Now, this is the part that I feel gets glossed over in the story. The idea that there's this big time skip of, what, 5-7 years? And no one seems to suspect Light on the basis that as soon as he takes over as the new L, the entire investigation basically grinds to a halt. Like, as far as I can tell, there are no new leads, no new suspects, no progress of any kind for 5 years. Like, Light doesn't accomplish anything. The task force goes from making leaps and bounds in progress to deducing who Kira is, to making absolutely no progress whatsoever as soon as Light takes over, and nobody's suspicious of that. That seems really weird to me. I actually could have used a little bit more meat in the middle of the sandwich between these two different parts, the pre-time skip and the post-time skip. Something to explain how Light keeps suspicion off of himself when he stops making progress in the Kira investigation. That, to me, would be a huge red flag. If, as soon as this guy becomes the head of this investigation of this very dangerous criminal, all of a sudden, like, we're just in the dark. There's no progress whatsoever. Maybe the guy who's in charge is the one who's the problem.
On the other hand, Mello was fully conducting his own investigation. He gets the mafia to kidnap Kakimura, the director of the Japanese NPA, and in order to exchange him for the Death Note, which is in possession of the Japanese task force, Light has the hostage killed with the book to avoid too much information leaking. But by doing that, he exposes himself yet again. Now it's obvious that Kira has access to classified intel, which lets Mello zero in on him and eventually leads to the kidnapping of Light's own sister. He continues to make a mess of things when Mello calls and takes credit for killing the director. Mello uses this as a bargaining chip to show his ruthlessness. However, Light knows that Mello didn't do it because he did. He framed frames it by stating that Kira probably killed the director to avoid the Death Note falling into criminal hands. But this idea comes literally out of nowhere. It's only because he isn't working with L anymore that he is able to use such a paper-thin lie. This is just another example of Light being overconfident, and it doesn't stop there. Soon after, he calls the American Kira Task Force, the SPK, pretending to be L. And unknown to him, Nera is leading this operation and already knows L is dead. So he is able to immediately call Light out as L number 2. Now, ironically, Light's takeaway from his talk with Nair is that he's too confident. He realizes they're similar in how they think, but decides that Nair isn't on the same level as the original L. But now, jumping ahead to Nair finding out about the existence of Shinigami and the false rules in the Death Note from Mello, he calls Light and the task force to ask about the rules. And Light openly asks Ryuk if any of the rules are fake, to which he lies and says they are all real. This confirms to Nair that not only are Shinigami real, but that this one is working with Kira, and that Kira is on the task force. This would be the only logical reason for Ryuk to lie in this moment. So knowing he's
Hold on a second. What? Hold on. Let me get all that again.
confirms to Nair that not only are Shinigami real, but that this one is working with Kira, and that Kira is on the task force. This would be the
Okay, so I can't. I don't know. This is tough. Because this plays into the whole rival trope of how much will rivals. To what extent will rivals go to sabotage each other versus helping each other out of some mutual respect? Nier really trusts Mello enough to take his word for it that there's a fake rule. When Mello is out to catch Kira himself.
only reason for Ryuk to lie in this moment. So knowing he is being targeted once again, Light convinces the US president to shut down the SPK and also sends a group of rioters to burn down Nair's hideout.
I'm sorry. They couldn't have this is I feel like this guy's like sort of glossing over this. They couldn't have possibly traced the phone call. They couldn't have traced the phone call that Kira made to the President of the United States. And this is 5 years later, by the way. This is the future. What was considered to be the future at the time that the story was written. There was no technology. They didn't. How long has wiretapping and phone tracing been a thing? It's been a while, yeah? When was caller ID invented? You didn't investigate the phone number that Kira called from? Mr. President of the United States? Literally the most important person on the planet?
But this is where Light overplays his hand again. Just like with Ray, he can't stop gloating. He calls Nair just to taunt him, but he flips the whole thing back on him in a Uno reverse. He points out that, bro, it's way too convenient that right after he started suspecting Light, the SPK's hideout gets attacked. Come on, bro. And that's just another clue Nair needed to confirm his theory that Light is Kira.
Also, Light's entire attitude during this particular arc, where he displays clear enmity with Nier and joy at any time that Nier's investigation is hindered. That just seems like a huge red flag to everybody in the same room as Light. That there's something really sus about him. Because why wouldn't he want to work with Nier? Even if Nier has admitted to Light that Light is a suspect, would Light not still want to cooperate in order to clear his own name in the same way that he did with L?
Again, he acted on impulse instead of Kero thinking it through, and it completely backfires. Nair and the SPK survive, whilst Light just exposed himself even more. And he isn't entirely alone at this.
Yeah, also just the whole idea to sick people on the headquarters of SBK. Not ever once thinking that they could just like evacuate from the building via helicopter or whatever with face masks on. I don't know. Seems pretty dumb.
Point. He recruited Mikami, a man with an extremely similar sense of justice who could kill for him, whilst Light kept his hands clean to avoid suspicion. Teru Mikami ends up killing Hitoshi Demigawa, a spokesperson for Kira who had been completely corrupted by greed. And in his place, he chooses Kiyomi Takada to fill his shoes. And it wouldn't take long for Nair to realize Mikami's role in things after he makes an appearance on Takada's broadcast. Nair connects the dots. Mikami's public devotion isn't just talk, it's faith in direct contact with Kira. So he orders surveillance on Mikami and quickly discovers that he visits a locker every day to check on something. And that something ends up to be the death note.
Okay.
When Nair realizes that Mikami is Kira's new hand. And
This is the part of the video that kind of drags it down for me is there's a lot of explaining things that people watching the video should know because it's just obvious that this video is made with the assumption that the people watching have already watched Death Note. And so they don't need all the setup and the context to the things that are happening. They already know that. If he could just skip to the things that he considers to be mistakes, that would be way better. And as previously discussed, I feel like there are mistakes that Light has made that this guy has missed or glossed over.
meanwhile, Light starts meeting with Takada more often, but he's so cautious and secretive about it that the task force starts getting suspicious of him. Knowing that he's being listened to, the two of them secretly pass notes to have separate conversations about how to move forward. However, Aizawa marks the notepad and learns about these messages, ultimately leading him to want to work more directly with Nair.
Yeah, that was a pretty obvious mistake.
Is about to happen when Nair swapped out the pages of Mikami's death book in preparation for their fight.
Death book? Come on, bro.
Was to have Mikami bait Nair with a fake note and then examine the notebook every day until he noticed a change. Now, unknown to him, Nair also managed to swap out the original that Mikami was planning to switch back to. So Mikami, he had been followed by Giovanni, who later retrieved the real note and replaced it with a fake. So then later, he didn't even know what happened in the yellow box. So when he ended up writing their names to kill Nair and everyone else, it actually fumbled. This meant when he did write their names down, except for Light Yagami, it provided all the evidence they needed to show that he's really Kira. Now, this is where I want to point out the dumbest thing. This whole thing, it could have been avoided. Rather than using
Yeah.
a fake book, Light could have simply had Mikami remove a few pages of the real book himself, which could have been used in emergencies. We see Light doing this
Yep.
when he has
Okay. I'm glad I'm the only one I'm glad I'm not the only one who noticed this. Because my solution to this, and this would be me playing really dirty, and this probably would not play out properly in dramatic fashion in the story, but my solution to this absolutely would have been to tell Tara Mikami to like roll up some little bits of Death Note paper, put them into a tube, and put them up his ass. Really. Like, that's the actual solution. You want to change the world, get ready to play dirty. Just smuggle pages of the Death Note up your arse. They will never think to check there. I swear.
pages before burying a death note, and we even
Nier and the whole SPK would be absolutely blindsided by that decision.
see Light do something like this as he keeps a piece of paper hidden in his watch. So he
Make me... if Light... sorry. The watch has always kind of felt like a bit of a contrivance. Because where did Light get this? Did he make it? Is Light some sort of like master tinkerer that I don't know about, or watchsmith that he has this talent for installing secret compartments in watches? Did he make this watch with the secret compartment, or did he buy it? If he bought it, would there not be some sort of paper trail that would lead people to suspect him on the basis that he bought a watch with a secret compartment in it? Does anyone sell watches with secret compartments in them? Would there be any point? Who would want such a product? Who would want a watch with a secret compartment that's only big enough to fit one tiny little piece of paper? It was fine when it was Light doing a little bit of workshopping to craft like a self-destruct device inside the drawer in his like little office space. That was something that I could rationalize as something that like a really smart kid could do. But crafting a secret compartment into a pocket watch, which is not something I think is commercially available. It would have to be something that Light built himself. Like, no. Like, I reject that. That takes me out of the story. The idea that Light just somehow has his hands on this, like, really wild James Bond tech. Ugh. That's going a little too far.
Things and created room for error for no reason. He's a dumbass. And hear me out on this one. Why not bring a gun? You got a room full of people and you're standing there awkwardly for 40 seconds. If Mikami brings a gun rather than the Death Note, then he, at the very least, kills Nair and maybe a few members of his task force. Sure, he'd likely be killed himself after this, but he's more than willing to sacrifice himself for Kira. And if that isn't enough, when the timer hits 40 seconds and Light believes everyone would die, this man starts to glow again, saying out loud...
Yeah, but I mean, this goes without saying, like, this was an intentionally written dumb thing on Light's part. Like, it was supposed to be dumb. So complaining about it is kind of invalid.
It wasn't Mello, Nair, or even L that led to Light's downfall. 90% of his problems all come down to his own mistakes. There were so many points where he could have just stopped or slowed down and not rush into things, or decide, hey, I shouldn't gloat and brag about my ego here. But because he saw himself as a god that was above everyone and everything that life threw at him, that was the reason he failed in the end. He didn't learn from his mistakes at all. Now, if you want to enjoy more peak fiction, watch this video on your screen right now.
Okay. So that is Light Yagami Was Never Smart. Every dumb mistake can Death Note. Complete Kira versus L story from Anime Balls Deep. Kind of a mid video, really. I feel like it's padded out with him explaining things that the audience should already know, when it's assumed that people watching the video have seen / watched Death Note. But I still feel like he had some good points. But I think that's going to do it for this stream. That was a nice, solid 3-hour stream. We got to check out lots of cool stuff. New One Piece chapter, which was... Okay, well, I mean, the new One Piece chapter was pretty mid. But we saw a cool new trailer for Flix Piece, which is pretty sick. New trailer for Digital Circus, which is also sick. Looking forward to that in a couple weeks. And then some cool Death Note stuff. So, here's the plan. And we already talked about it a little bit. But I I am planning on streaming again on the 15th. I may have to stream at an irregular time because that's around the time that my birthday is. So there's going to be like visits from friends and family and such. I might throw that off, but I really want to stream on that day because that is the next time that we will be able to stream after FlixPiece Season 2 has released. And I really want to dig into that as soon as possible. There will be no new One Piece chapter next week, but FlixPiece will be more than enough. We'll go ahead and binge like 3 or 4, like somewhere between 2 and 4 episodes. I'll have to suss it out. And then the 22nd, One Piece should be back, along with more FlixPiece. And then the 29th, my current projection is that we will wrap up FlixPiece Season 2 on the 29th, chapter or no chapter. So that's my projection for our streams this month. For now, thanks for checking us out. Thank you for 2 years of awesomeness. We're up to, I believe, 11 subscriptions on YouTube and I think 5 followers on Twitch. I look forward to growing even more and making even more content for you guys. Thank you for all your support because every watch, like, comment, subscription, follow, it all helps push us on to bigger and better things. And look forward to giving you guys more awesome content in the near future. Especially after, the previously discussed PC upgrade, which I've got a day off from school tomorrow. It's going to be a teacher work day. And there are no, scheduled meetings. I'm going to have that whole day off. So tomorrow, I'm going to be devoting that day to just working on the PC. I'm going to yank it out. I'm going to unplug everything. And then basically gut it so that I can get everything hooked up to the new motherboard with the new CPU and the new RAM. The only thing I'm missing is some thermal paste. I feel like I'm about to step out the front door and go to my local Walmart and see if they got some thermal paste for sale. So I'm going to go take care of that now. Thanks again for watching. You guys have a good day and happy daylight savings time, by the way. For you, not for me. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a little tired. Partly because I didn't get nearly enough sleep. I stayed up pretty late in spite of the fact that I knew it was spring forward. I just had a lot to do. I had put off shaving for too long, and as well as doing some laundry. I just really need to catch up on some basic life stuff, and that cut into my sleep time because I stay pretty busy. I gotta make time for the stuff when I can, even if it means I lose out on some sleep. We keep a full plate around here. Yeah. I don't know about you guys, but I prefer when daylight savings time is on compared to when it's off. I like it when it's dark in the morning and bright in the evenings. Usually. But, yeah. That'll do it. Thanks again for tuning in. And y'all have a good day. Catch you later. Here's to many more years of Cross H Productions. Have a good night.